Hi friends! Today I will show you the third episode from the series Soldiers' Memoirs, which is based on the conversations of the writer Konstantin Simonov with the Knights of the Order of Glory of 3 Degrees. The hero of this film was a participant in the Great Patriotic War, the commander of the gun, Mikhail Petrovich Badigin, a tank destroyer. He describes what was the worst thing in war life for artillery, how he made his last shot at World War II, and why they wanted to sleep more than to survive. The most difficult thing in war is work. It is sometimes physically exhausting work. Before you have to fight or go on the attack, it's even easier than this work. According to calculations, in order to dig in a 45mm cannon, about 30 cubes of earth must be removed, and already 56 cubes are needed for a 76mm cannon. If this is by calculation, then you need to work for 2 days. And in reality, it was necessary to dig in by morning. That's the way. How many people took part in this? 7 people. The 45mm cannon had 6, and there were 7. There were more for 1 person, but it was necessary to dig twice as much. We had to dig up a lot of earth. Well, they dug up as much as a dozen people won't dig up in a lifetime. Sometimes we stay in the firing position. Then the commander decided to change the position, and we shifted a kilometer to the right. It is again necessary to dig up 56 cubes of earth. When work is almost done, a new order to the left for 5 kilometers and dig again. And so sometimes we were transferred for several weeks. And we were tired of digging. It's just that the soldier is already mentally and physically exhausted. But nevertheless, the tasks are worth it. This is a war. If you don't dig in, then you will die. They still found strength and dug. And in this case only, it was possible to count on victory. If you don't dig in, you won't last long. A whirlwind will sweep you away. First, as a rule, you dig a trench for shelter, and then only a platform for the gun. It's only necessary to dig to a depth of 2 shovels, and then you can lie down in the ground and hide. It is no longer dangerous. There was one rule that was not established by anyone, but which was firmly followed. The ditch for soldiers was made in the place where there was a trace of a mine or a shell that exploded. That is, it is very reliable, because we gunners ourselves knew that a shell does not fall twice in one place. This is exceptionally rare. In a ditch near everyone or in the same place where a German shell left a trace, you will feel more secure. I was near Stalingrad. We changed at least 30 to 40 positions there. Then from one flank, then to the other, then to the third, then to the center, already several hundred kilometers. And the earth has been dug up so much that a bulldozer does not dig up so much. Mikhail Petrovich, what if tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, you have to go to a military unit and shake up the old days? Try to open at least one position for your then gun with the current young guys. Can we really carry out this venture with you? How did you start working with the guys? Well, I explained to them. First they marked out the firing position and said that it was necessary to start digging from the middle. If you start digging from the edge, suddenly you will have to open fire and there will be nowhere to put the gun. And when you start from the middle, the gun can be installed immediately. It will be located 20 centimeters lower, although it's not yet completely dug in. The second point. It's harder to throw earth from the center, but you also have more strength from the beginning, and the closer you dig to the edge, the less strength is lost. This is also an important point. Did you mark it up, circled it first? Yes, they took some rope, outlined 3 meters at once, made notes with a shovel, and you can dig. But we did not start from a firing position, but from ditches for soldiers. This is the principle. Because if you don't start with the ditches, the soldiers will die and the cannon will no longer be needed. First, the crew digs in, they look at the situation. Even if you don't dig to the end, then at least 40 centimeters so that you can hide. And you explained all this to the guys, initially. Yes, because they are not specialists, but now they are digging. Now they will have to take off some clothes. The ground is heavy here apparently. medium soil. It can be said that it's hard, but it's not easy either. I have to use a pickaxe. Did you have any? Absolutely. A couple of crowbars, a couple of picks, and 7 shovels. Well, the guys are already getting a little dipper. Here, they started to arrange the firing position. Such a dry soil. At the front, everything makes sense. Even where to throw the earth matters. We always threw forward. If the projectile breaks, the fragments always fly forward. If the projectile flies over, then there are fewer fragments back. Everything, every little thing should be taken into account. And what are you showing them? A cannon should walk along the breastwork. It's not for beauty, but so that the bullet does not pierce the crew. It should be dug to a depth of 2 shovels, 40 centimeters, and the breastwork itself should be 20 centimeters high, 60 centimeters altogether. And not for beauty, as they first did. How beautiful! But it should be cut off, so that it blocks bullet fragments. Well, now, Mikhail Petrovich, are you satisfied with the work of the guys? Would you then take them into your artillery crew? Yes, to my surprise, when they were first brought to me for the first time, I looked at them, I thought nothing would work with them. But when they started working, I must say, despite the fact that they are not gunners, they coped with their duties perfectly. And I was just amazed. Apparently they're quite fit, otherwise you can't do it. I would take these guys, of course. Good guys. But in the war, it was not only necessary to dig in. Apparently you had to carry a gun too, and help the horses and the car and just like that on your hands, right? Of course, Konstantin Mikhailovich, because war is war, and there are not asphalt roads, but more off-road. And of course I had to carry it. Of course during the war we had to carry, and quite often, and sometimes cannon and the cars, we had to drag them and pull them out of the mud. The cannon probably got 10 times heavier. Of course, when we managed it on soil ground, and then it really became 10 times heavier in the mud. And yet somehow, meter by meter, various tricks and soldier devices, if necessary we dragged guns on our hands, hiding behind an armored shield and pushed it behind the infantry. The 57mm cannon weighs 1 ton and 250 kilograms, but I must say it is very maneuverable. Of all, it is very successful, and the wheels are good. Even 5 people easily handled it. Apparently, muddy roads interfered sometimes, probably. Especially in Ukraine, roads have let us down. Here I remember, at the beginning of 1944, snow usually falls in January, December, the ground freezes and then it warms up, and it all turns into mud, and sometimes we could only move 3 to 4 kilometers a day. Then the gun is stuck. Then the car, you pull one out, the other gets stuck. Ukraine is especially remembered for this. Then we began to turn to the locals for help, and they are so happy, children, old people, some are on a cart, some only using their hands, chains. The locals provided transportation of shells. They not only helped us, they also carried ammunition to the infantry. This is the only reason we were able to advance this far in 1944 and liberate Odessa. In Poland, before the Vistula, we had a case. We were somehow left to block the Warsaw Highway in case of a breakthrough, and we were 6 kilometers behind the advanced units. It was already August, and wheat was falling down. The Poles were harvesting it, and all of them were old men. Well, I looked at them and thought we had to help the Poles. The guys are all healthy, young, and they worked all day. We finished the job in an hour and a half. Well, we could help them, and so we did. The Poles were very satisfied, and our guys were satisfied as well. So finally we had a chance to do some peaceful labor. Well, I would have never stopped doing the job, but I had to go back. I remember in one of our conversations you said that exhausting work in the war and plus insomnia perhaps have been worse than any fear, as they say. Is that true? Yes, it was already the last stage of the war when we reached Berlin. As a rule, we moved at night, occupied new firing positions and dug again. There's no time to sleep. Dug in, artillery preparation in the morning, you withdraw from positions and move behind the infantry. In general, there was no time to sleep. And so for 3 days, at night you dig again. And it is so exhausting that, let's say, you're already an experienced and seasoned person and life becomes indifferent because work without sleep is exhausting. It was terribly hard. We were only encouraged by the thought that Berlin was near, that the end was about to come. And we understood that it was necessary not to give the enemy peace, that it was necessary to push. Well, how did you not sleep? You remember. But how did you finally get enough sleep? Did you remember that? Any soldier will tell you that he always lacked exactly the time to sleep. For me, the war ended on May the 2nd. Well, here we have already had a good night's sleep, as they say, only somehow strange, silent. I couldn't believe it. And the first days anyway with machine guns, as we used to, we did not part with them. You're waiting for shots, but there aren't any. It was hard to believe it. You once mentioned to me that you made the last shot yourself, not the gunner. But how and where was it? Exactly, where exactly? How? Yes, I remember my last shot. That was why I was awarded the Order of Glory of the First Degree for it. It was in Berlin. The Reichstag was already not far away. How far? It was probably about 500 to 600 meters to the Reichstag, because we were on the ground behind the houses and we stormed a 6-story building. The infantry is like everyone is pressing against the walls, and we rolled the cannon. As soon as they saw an enemy soldier, they fired at him. They did not spare shells. And then this Hulk comes around the corner. Infantry immediately backs up, so suddenly and so close. Ferdinand, right? Yes, Ferdinand. Literally, at a distance of 50 to 70 meters, it crawled out, directed its gun with a muzzle brake at us, and it stands with its forehead not sideways to us. There is nowhere to go. Who is faster? Fortunately for us, the Ferdinand got fire from the first shot. So until the very last minute, here in Berlin, we had to fight with all our might, without sparing our lives. Soldiers were wounded, but they did not leave. I could leave 2 times, stay in the hospital for a month, but no one wanted to leave their part in any case, only when the fighter was really already incapacitated, although everyone knew that they could die. Yes, he could have died, but fortunately he didn't. He has reached victory, and now that we have finished the last shooting, he is leaving Moscow for his home in Kyrgyzstan in the city of Osh. He leaves for his family, his wife, his children, and his favorite job. Thank you, Mikhail Petrovich, and thank you, fellow viewers. Thank you and goodbye until our next meeting, until the next part of Soldiers' Memoirs. Thank you for watching the video. It was Oleg and the Red Army channel. Write your comments and don't forget to put likes. Also, you could watch the first episode and the second on my channel. Link will appear in the right corner.